Hey folks, welcome back to Quantum Healing Mysteries. If you're here either watching on the Facebook group, which is where we stream these, or on the channel, let us know in the comments. So I have somebody with me today who is very interesting. I cannot begin to tell you the path that has unfolded as I've just documented my own healing and fired all my doctors last November. Most of you know this story. And God's been leading me to all of these truths about healing, medicine, science that, no joke, have been hidden from us for over 100 years. And every time I'm like, I don't believe in instantaneous healing. This sounds ridiculous. I have to remember that we have had these truths hidden from us for over 100 years. And if you remember that, it's going to put our conversation today into perspective. So I have the honor of introducing the person who actually designed and built this device, which is based on Nikola Tesla's work and restores our magnetic fields. It's a very powerful device. The more I learn about it, the more I'm just shocked at how we can actually achieve instantaneous rebalance, health, functionality. These are things that should have been mainstream about 100 years ago. I'm going to remind you about that till the end of time, because it really puts things into perspective. My husband and I last night, we could not believe that I was able to, through quantum entanglement with Dr. Kate, get an instantaneous reading on something that was really accurate. And we were just like, wait a minute, she did it over the phone in South Carolina. How is that possible? But then I have to tell myself, this was hidden from us over 100 years ago. And it puts everything into perspective when you realize we've literally had curriculum that's been stripped. It's been reconfigured. It's been modified to fit an agenda for a century. And that's why I'm on a mission to bring you the truth on this channel. So I'm going to pull up Shawn, who Dr. Kate introduced me to. We're going to talk to him. He has quite the story. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here. You're the person behind the people, I hear.
Hi, Julia.
Hey, good to have you here.
Thank you.
Yes. So I would love to hear a little bit more about, and if you have questions for Shawn, let us know in the comments. I already see someone has a product question for you. So, hey, my shift rattles on the inside of the casing. Is that normal? Says someone.
Well, I would say no, it's not normal. We've had some challenges. We've had some challenges with shipping is what it boils down to.
Oh, yeah. Dang it. So they should just probably reach out on the shiftdevice.com website and just email.
Yes.
Okay, so do that. Go to the shiftdevice.com, reach out. So I learned, of course, I found out about the shift through Dr. Monzo, who didn't actually invent it, Dr. Kate. But then I find out Dr. Kate's like, wait, I have someone who's not on camera, who doesn't have a presence, who actually invented and built this thing. And that's you, Shawn. And you build these things by hand currently. You're still doing that. So what was the journey like with your health? How did you come across Tesla's work? What happened here?
Oh, my goodness, the journey with the health. I mean, I don't know where you want to begin with that. That was a decade-long journey for me.
Well, I think a lot of people can relate. So feel free to deep dive.
Oh, wow. I mean, I guess I really started to notice issues with my hands is where it started. More than a decade ago, not being able to hold on to stuff and did not know what it was, and boiled down to neuropathy in my hands.
Oh, wow. How old were you?
I was in my 40s.
Wow.
Now, I've had problems my entire life. I mean, I was sick as a child, which they attributed to asthma. Which, I saw the eye roll and I understand. I'm starting to realize that a lot of that now probably could have been taken care of at an early age, and I probably would not be at the stage I am in now in life.
Well, how much did vaccines play in too?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I haven't done many vaccines in my adult life. Actually, I refused the COVID vaccine.
Good, same here.
Yeah, and that was during COVID. I was actually doing a lot of work with disinfection. I designed and developed automated disinfection system that's in use in a lot of the EMS stations, fire stations throughout the state of Ohio, as well as at the State House of Ohio.
No kidding.
Yeah. So even through that process with COVID going on, I refused the vaccine, all the
Mm,
while taking immunosuppressant drugs for this mystery illness that the doctors could not figure out.
wow.
Yeah. So, like I said, the rabbit hole that I've been down is probably the same rabbit hole you've been down. I found the same things you did with Rockefeller and his suppression of homeopathic healing, and it was really the only way that Rockefeller was able to build an industry that he controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah, being the pharmaceutical companies, because pharmaceuticals is based upon the idea of stripping down to the base element that causes or it creates the effect in the body that they're desiring, and then patenting that synthetic uh, duplication of it. Because if they cannot patent a synthetic duplication, a natural cure is worthless to them. They don't control it.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
They're
I
a
mean,
billion-dollar industry.
yeah, exactly. He built an industry, and the industry was based upon control and control of the knowledge and control of the science.
Wow.
Hmm.
Just to handle that act, you have to sit with that for a minute if it's new to you, because like for me, I just learned all this 2 years ago, 13, 14 months ago. I'm like, wait a minute. So when I walk in the ER, they not only have they removed herbals, frequency devices, which can instantaneously change health. They've removed that. It's been removed for 100 years, since 1910, when the AMA institutionalized this and worked with Rockefeller, Big Pharma, and the FDA. And if I know that, then even walking in an ER, it's hidden knowledge for 100 years on how to actually heal. So what am I getting instead? I'm getting something patented that isn't even from nature, that's prescribed to me based on symptoms, which symptoms aren't even the root cause. So like, why would we even walk into these places anymore? That's been my recent question.
Yeah, I asked I asked that with myself so many times. Like I said, my journey was one of those crazy, similar to yours. I'm finding out, 3 neurologists, 3 rheumatologists, 2 pulmonologists, 2 cardiologists, 2 neuropsychologists, 2 neuroophthalmologists, 2 neurooptometrists, Cleveland Clinic, OSU hospitals, and all they
Wow.
could say is try this pill, try this drug, try this injection. I mean, it started out with the milder stuff, the hydroxychloroquine, went to methotrexate, from methotrexate to leflunomide, to Humira and leflunomide together. At one point, my white blood cell count was like 3,000.
Wow.
And that the basis was to suppress my immune system, that they said was causing the inflammation in my body and basically eating my body alive, because I had systemic inflammation in all my organs and joints. My breathing was horrible. I couldn't even sit and talk to you like I am right now. I'd be out of breath.
Wow. Wow.
Lifting anything heavy would win me. And the neurological issues that I had going on, the jerking in my body was awful. I could not hardly sleep without hurting myself in my sleep. I actually fractured each of my elbows independently in my sleep, hitting a wall and hitting my headboard, jerking so hard. I would sleep with a washcloth in my mouth to keep from my jaw from slamming shut and biting my tongue. Overheating with my body. I could no longer sleep with my wife. Sleep in my own room with a spot cooler that I had rigged to not shut off until the coil froze, so I could get my bedroom to 36 degrees, sleeping naked with no covers and still sweating. And plenty of people around me can attest to these facts. I could stand outside in 10 degrees in a t-shirt and talk to you. You could feel the heat coming off my body. That's how bad it was. My wife has pictures of me standing outside 5 below with snow and steam coming off my body. And the doctors, basically all of them said, we don't know exactly what's going on with you. Try this pill, try this pill, try this injection. And it comes down to like you said, I mean, bless you.
Thank you.
We've forgotten more than we know about healing ourselves.
Yeah.
And that is due to Rockefeller. And I know I told you that it got to the point where I was on my bucket list, and I actually had one pulmonologist give me 3 years to live 5 years ago. He said, you're going to suffocate in your sleep. And now I can run through the yard and chase my grandchildren.
No.
I went from that point to where I am now. And that's what I was telling you earlier. I'm probably healthier than I've been in my entire life. Um,
Wow.
the child had asthma and the issues that came with that and hospitalizations and on and on and on. Um,
Mm.
and to find out the cure was in the woods.
So
Um,
let's talk about that. Yeah. So how do you told me an amazing story about mushrooms, but I also want to talk about frequency because
mhm.
I know a lot of people here are probably aware, but like what's the general basis of how frequency and not drugs, nature, not drugs, is our medicine?
I mean, that's two different topics, actually.
Yeah.
It really is. Frequency, I, I can hypothesize on a lot because I don't have anything to measure what is going on within the body.
Hmm.
But there are certain things we do know, like the human cell resonates at a frequency between 15 and 30,000 hertz. Bless
Hmm.
you.
Thank you.
And that's in a healthy cell. Non-healthy cells resonate outside of that frequency range.
Hmm.
And the shift, what we believe the shift does, because like I said, once again, I can't prove, so I don't want to speak out of turn and off topic. But and we know that the shift does resonate in the frequency range of a healthy cell. The target when they're tested going out the door is 15 to 20,000 hertz,
Hmm.
and that's 15 to 20 kilohertz. That frequency, when the normal cell is resonating at that frequency, everything vibrates.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know that. And when that cell is at that frequency, that's when we're the healthiest.
Hmm.
So that's the theory behind the Tesla energy healing and the frequency type healing. Um, I mean, that's a rabbit hole you can go down to with several different frequency devices. Um, I can't think of the names of them right off the top of my head, but that's basically how most of them work. It's trying to get the body and the cells to resonate at the correct frequency to
Hmm.
make it healthy. Because if your body is working like it should, your body should be able to heal itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with the help of nature, I mean, nature is an amazing a thing, and I can't speak enough of especially with mushrooms. Um,
Hmm.
the rabbit hole I went down with that. I know I told you that I would wake up every morning and I would pray, God, I'm done. Take it or take me, and that's just where I was at. I
Hmm.
just couldn't do it anymore. I woke up every morning feel like I had the worst flu of my life every day.
Hmm.
Um, and that's when I really went down the rabbit hole of mushrooms and starting doing research with mushrooms. And I actually started taking some of the commercially available supplements, but I did not feel those commercially available supplements were working like they should, based upon what I was seeing about how mushrooms react. And one of the people that I really followed and did a lot of research on was Paul Stamets. Um,
Hmm.
I'm not sure if you're aware of him or not. World-renowned mycologist. Um,
Okay. So I've
very
heard that name.
Yeah, very interesting story Paul Stamets tells at a TED Talk involving his mother and breast cancer research with turkey tail
Mm.
mushrooms.
Oh, wow.
She was in her 80s at the time, and I don't want to speak too much on because I don't want to speak off out of turn, like I said. But she was in her 80s, I think mid 80s, and had stage 4 breast cancer.
Hmm.
And when she called Paul, he knew something was off. And of course, he met with her oncologist and dealing with the doctors and stuff. And the oncologist knew that Paul was actually funded for breast cancer research with the turkey tail mushroom. So they got her into that study as well. And as far as I
Hmm.
remember, she is the only survivor from that study
Wow.
at like 83 years old. And they basically said, just get your stuff in order. You're done, which is
Wow.
what some of us hear all along. And I mean, and
Yeah.
it saddens me to think and to know what I went through and to hear the doctors being recalled in my head. Even my rheumatologist said, "Look, I'm going to tell you up front, I kill 1/3 of my patients with these drugs." And
Oh,
I thank you for the honesty, but what happened to do no harm? Uh,
yes.
and you listen to these pharmaceutical companies
Wow.
selling these drugs on TV, the side effects.
Yes. It's
Yes,
terrible.
the cure is worse than the disease.
So true.
Uh,
Wow.
but yeah, I did a lot of research with mushrooms, and like I said, I didn't feel that the commercially available products were doing what they should have done based upon
Hmm.
my research with those. And that's when I found out a lot of the commercially available products did not have in them what they said they had in them. A lot of times what you're getting instead of the mushroom itself is myceliated grain, which how these mushrooms are grown, they're grown in a strata, which is typically grain corn or a rice or a bean type media. And what they do is they then throw away the fruiting body and take the mycelium, which the mycelium is the best part of the mushroom for you, but they leave it mixed in with the grain because separating it's almost impossible. So realistically, you're getting about 10% of the mushroom and 90% of the media that was grown in.
Wow.
Yeah. So a lot of these products, and that's one thing you have to look out for. You have to look out for the terminology myceliated grain. And that's when I realized that at this point I had nothing to lose. So I spent a fair amount of money and I put a lab in my basement, complete with centrifuges, stills. I even bought my own still. The process involving the extraction is a two-step process. It involves an alcohol extraction as well as a hot water bath extraction to get the compounds out of the mushrooms that your body needs. And I wanted to control every step of the process, so I even started making my own alcohol to do it.
Wow.
But I started taking the product that I made, which is a blend of 4 different mushrooms, and none of them are the psilocybins. A lot of them are culinary mushrooms. Lion's mane is the biggest part of the mixture. Lion's mane is an incredible mushroom, especially with nervous system issues, neurological issues. And Paul Stamets will he tells another not story, but recounts another study with lion's mane mushrooms in a talk with Joe Rogan. Lion's mane has actually been proven as a cure for Alzheimer's.
Wow.
Hands down, 100% is a cure for Alzheimer's. And a lot of the medical professionals I dealt with felt that my problem was actually MS, which is not too dissimilar because MS, what it does is strips the myelin off your nervous system and degenerates the neural pathways. Kind of similar to what happens in Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is more mainly focused on the brain, which you do develop inclusions on the brain with MS as well. Now, lion's mane mushroom, it actually has the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier and can rebuild neural pathways as well as recoat myelin on the nerve endings, which is what happens in Alzheimer's patients as well. I mean, you get on this rabbit hole and you're like, why don't we know this?
Yes. Amen.
And going through what I did with all of I call them ologists, my cardiologist, even I was having issues with AFib as well as my blood pressure 170 over 135. They wanted to do surgery for the AFib to correct that, on and on and on. And I started on this mushroom supplement that I developed with the blend of the 4 mushrooms, which I can tell you is lion's mane, turkey tail, reishi, and chaga. And all of a sudden, I mean, it was about 3 weeks into it that I woke up one morning and I felt cold. And that was a feeling that I hadn't had in 5 years.
Wow.
I couldn't tell you what cold was like to me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was that bad. And I was like, well, thank you, Lord. I'll take anything at this point. If this is as good as it gets, I'm happy. But 6 weeks into taking it, the jerking had almost completely stopped and I was able to sleep through the night. And I have not had an episode since. Now, remember that at one point I fell asleep in a recliner in the living room and knocked the recliner over jerking so hard. I mean, it was like somebody would hit my body with a defibrillator. It was that bad.
Wow. Now, did you eat the mushrooms whole or did you make your own supplements?
No, I make my own supplements.
Wow. Do you sell those? Do you have a...
I actually do, but I'm very horrible at running that as a business.
I wanted to talk about the shift, but now I'm like, what about the mushrooms?
Yes, I actually do. That is a business I've worked on, and I do sell them. And actually, there's over 100 different people taking them now at this time, including several MS patients who are off of their medications and in full remission.
So what's crazy about the mushroom is I heard from it was a natural doctor I went to last year, and most of them were just totally wrong about what was wrong with me. She was like, you need to get off all mushrooms because they feed mold, which you have in your body. And I'm like, but I love mushrooms. I didn't eat mushrooms since she told me that.
Really? That's interesting because most mushrooms, especially after they've been extracted, are antimicrobial.
Oh, gotta go back to her.
Yeah,
Say, what are you
I mean
telling people?
that's known, that's studied. You know, we know
Wow.
this. And what I found out with the blend of mushrooms that I put together, um, um, just about any type of autoimmune disorder, they're very effective with. Now, do they
Wow.
work for everybody? No, I can honestly tell you they do not. Our body chemistry, everybody's body chemistry is different.
Yeah.
But the majority of the people, yes. I mean, my daughter no longer takes thyroid medication. Hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism both are autoimmune conditions.
Yeah.
My wife's daughter, who has had a thyroid removed, is no longer taking medication.
Wow.
One of Dr. Kate's and I friends, she also is strictly just using the mushroom extraction that I use, and has had great results with her thyroid as well. And
Wow.
she's at my age.
So people are asking if they can't buy your brand, what brand of Lion's Mane would you recommend? Is there a clean brand out there?
My brand is available on the internet.
Oh, tell us where
I
to
do
go.
sell it. Like I said, I'm just horrible at marketing it and running it as a business. My forte, like I tried to tell you earlier, is I'm the guy who solves the problems. Never in my life did I actually feel I had or think I would have to fix myself.
Wow.
But yes, I do sell the mushrooms. And honestly, realistically, probably what needs to happen with that company is that company needs to be sold off to somebody who's willing to run with it and market it and do that type of thing. I feel bad marketing it because I know how bad I was, which makes me horrible at that part of the business because I just want to give it all away.
You can't do that.
I know, but that
Do you
happens
have
a lot.
Website or a marketplace?
Yes. It's oldmedicinenewage.com.
Oh, very cool. Oldmedicinenewage.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get some. My husband's really into mushrooms, and he used to grow them. He'll have to listen to this. But he buys a brand that's supposed to be non-GMO, organic. But
Right.
one of the things I learned from Dr. Kate, and probably you know a lot about this too, is that nanotech is now one of our bigger issues, more than GMO.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that rabbit hole right there is one you can travel down. And nanotech.
We need to talk about that. Not many people, I mean, people here are aware, but I think Americans as a whole are completely unaware of that.
Nanotech is a tough discussion for me because for me, I like to talk on things that I can prove and I can say this is the results. And I do not have equipment to really do the proper testing and to do the research I need to do. But all I have to say is I had this conversation with my sister yesterday. I went down and picked her up in Florida Saturday, and we drove back. And all of us have had those times when we start to search something on our phone and we don't even get to completely fill in the search. And anymore, it's not even, I don't even have to say it. I swear things are popping up on my search engine that I've thought about.
Oh, yeah.
And I know we've all seen that and felt that.
Yeah. So what technology is that? You need to be asking.
Yeah.
People that are listening.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not, it can't call it a coincidence. I mean, it happens all the time and regularly.
Everyone
to
talks about
everyone. And what is going on that our phones at this point know what we're thinking?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand predictive algorithms because that's one of the things I do is programming. My background is actually industrial automation controls and engineering. I built production lines and equipment, for Coca-Cola for a long time, modified equipment, that type of thing, which is, I guess, my electrical background there. And you'd asked if I was an engineer. No, I'm not an engineer. I'm self-taught on everything, which is everything I've ever done in my life. My kids say I'm smart. I say, no, I'm too stupid to know I can't.
That is the typical story of a brilliant inventor, just saying.
You have to be motivated, and you have to have the can-do attitude.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you,
Yeah.
I have failed more times than people have tried.
Well, that's Elon Musk. How many times before he
Yes.
got the shuttle launched in space?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So with the
we are getting
nanotech,
questions about nanotech. Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions like, how do I know it's in me? How do I know the shift destroys it?
well, how do you know the ship destroys it? That's where I have difficulty talking about, because I can't prove. I can hypothesize. I can tell you what I know happens. The shift does emit a high electromagnetic frequency, and it is enough to disable electronic devices.
This is a good guess right here in the comments.
Okay. The demagnetizer will pause and what's becoming active. I don't know that a demagnetizer would, because to actually, this comes back to frequencies and resonation. An electromagnetic pulse, we've all heard that electromagnetic pulse will shut off electronics and it'll be the end of the world. And we've seen it in Terminator, and we've seen it in many movies. How that actually works is the frequency of the collision of the atoms. It creates an electrical charge inside the device. So it's not necessarily the magnetic that's causing it. It's building a charge inside the electronic device that destroys it. If that makes sense.
Interesting.
So a demagnetize, which I think what the technology you're talking about is degaussing. Would that have effect on nanotechnology? No, I'd have to say no. What you have to do is you have to build a charge high enough to short circuit it, to blow it out.
Yeah.
Which we already have a charge in our body. Our body's a 24-volt battery, a chemical battery. That's what we are. We're walking around. That's how our heart operates, So the electrical charge is already there. What we need to do is we need to get that resonating, and we need to get the nanobot to build its own charge to where it just explodes, basically. Because that's, like I said, that's how an electromagnetic pulse disables electronic devices. It builds a charge inside there and just blows the circuitry up.
Interesting. So someone's asking if they were to use the shift on an old phone and the old phone gets destroyed, maybe they mean like turned off, whatever. Does that prove that that device can then destroy the nanotech or disrupt the nanotechnology?
No, that does not prove it. Phones are an interesting thing. I believe we all remember when cell phones were first, I don't want to say popular, but when they really became consumer type items, where you could not have your cell phone next to a radio talking on it because it would interfere with the radio and the speaker would start clicking. That's went away. And the reason that has went away is because phones are so shielded at this point to reduce the amount of interference. So now where you see issues with the shift, and Dr. Kate, I know she tells it all the time. She always forgets to take her key fob out of her pocket, and she has bought so many batteries because of it. It's not a high enough charge to really interfere with something like a cell phone. Can it? Yes. Would I try to do it? No, I would not try to do it. I would not try and destroy my $1,000 cell phone. And that would not, I just don't think it'd be a wise move to make. But I mean, when you're talking nanotechnology, and I can't say how advanced nanotechnology is, because once again, I've not seen it for myself. But nanotechnology, for it to operate on a level that small, cannot have the shielding in place like a cell phone has.
Interesting.
It just can't.
Because I've heard you can fit 300,000 of these nanobots on the tip of a pen.
Right. So how well could you actually how well could you actually shield that? I mean, you can't envelop that in a Faraday cage, which is what you would need to interrupt a device like the shift from causing interference. And that's why I would say I would not say it's comparable to a cell phone. The shift destroying, interrupting a cell phone, or like with Kate's problem with her keys. And she's done it with rental cars too, unfortunately. That's kind of funny. Those the smaller items that are less shielded, yes, you're going to notice effects with that. Would I trust it with a pacemaker? No. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, I would steer clear of those types of things
Yeah.
because the uh, the electromagnetic field coming off of it is right around 70 to 80 uh, uh, millitesla units,
Hmm.
which is actually fairly high. Um, I mean, if I get my meter out and I check the magnetic field coming off of the shift, it instantly flashes red, meaning you shouldn't be around this.
Hmm.
Now, okay, we take that for a grain of salt. Yes, it's saying you should not be around prolonged exposure to that type of magnetic field, but that's the type of magnetic field that it takes to disable something like that.
Hmm. Wow. Interesting. And that's where I've heard like Dr. Kate's like the longest you would never want to do like 15 minutes. And this is such an anomaly to me because it's like she used it. She had a recent injury. She used it for minutes at a time and
Mhm.
like bleeding stopped. There was cellular restoration. But yet,
Mhm.
like some of this is dangerous if it's overexposed. So maybe you can talk to that a little bit.
Well, I mean, I can try to speak to that. Once again, I don't have any way to prove what I'm saying on a lot of this.
Yeah.
Uh, eh, I mean, with anything, all things in moderation.
Hmm.
I mean, you've heard that all along. Uh, a little bit of salt your body needs is good for you.
Yeah.
Too much salt, you're going to kill yourself. Even
Hmm.
even water, the thing of life, water. You can actually drink so much water that you create a condition called water intoxication, and it can kill you.
Wow.
Um, so all things in moderation, I guess, is where I would come back to that.
Hmm.
Overexposure to anything is bad,
Yeah.
no matter what it is, or no matter
Yeah.
how inert or how non-reactive it is. I mean, water of all things you would not think could cause harm, but I actually remember a stunt where some DJs did a thing with. Um, they had three contestants, I believe it was, and they had to drink as much water as they could without going to the bathroom. And one of the contestants actually died from water intoxication
Oh,
because and
wow.
basically what happens is you dilute your blood to the point where your body cannot be the battery that it is.
Yeah.
You have to have magnesium, potassium, and certain things in your body to create the chemical battery that we are. And once you dilute it to a certain point, it just shuts down.
Yeah. That makes sense. Huh.
So that's where I
Yeah.
would be with the shift. It's along the same lines. A little bit's good, a lot not good.
Yeah. How many
A
times a
lot of
day do you do it? Do you use it every day?
funny thing is, I don't ever have to use it
What? Whoa. Tell
because I
us
build and
more.
test them
Oh,
all day long.
okay. That makes sense.
Because Kate asked me the same question. Well, are you using the shift? Well, no, not really, Kate. I test them all day long.
Why would you? That makes sense. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So this person in the comments is like, okay, well, maybe I'll go test it on a key fob. It's interesting, right? Because we're in this place where like we can't really prove a lot of this, but we know it's happening. And like for
Right.
me, like I never thought nanotech in the body was, oh, come on. That's
Hmm.
science fiction until I used the shift. And then like I felt this visible change. And the next day I could drive on the freeway for the first time in 14 months without any anxiety. And I was like,
Yeah.
something changed, something
Hmm.
left.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, this stuff is real. And then when you realize also, Dr. Monzo talks a lot about this. When it's in your body, it can reactivate trauma, it can pull Lyme, it
Hmm.
can turn things on and off. And that to me was the only thing that made sense with what I went through last year. Like things seemed to turn on and off. And I'm
Right.
like, what is happening? So we
Hmm.
know it's happening. Like the evidence is there. It may feel really crazy, but it's there. We just can't prove a lot of the actual
Right.
claims. And that's why we have to be really careful.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I try not to speak out of turn when it comes to those type of things. Now, how I prove this to myself that the shift is working is through testing devices. I have an oscilloscope. and I can test the frequency range. I can test the power output, which on the shift is about 15 watts. And if you know anything about radio frequency and power, that's really high. Most cell phones operate in the 1 watt range for transmission.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that's based upon the consumption of power by the shift, which is roughly 4 amps at 3.7 volts. But also I can see it on the oscilloscope when I'm reading the waveform. The other way to see the operation of the shift is with an electromagnetic meter, EMF detector. A lot of people use them for ghost hunting, that type of device. Now you have to watch it, because if you have one of those devices, chances are it's probably not a high-end device. It's probably fairly inexpensive, and who knows what the calibration is. So, and I've actually done this myself, put 3 of them side by side and get a different reading of all 3 of them. Because I had that question from one person. So you have to be really careful with the devices you're using to test and to see what's going on.
That makes sense. We got a couple questions. Barbara's asking how far away from her hubby should she be? He has a pacemaker. She got it, so she's going to use it.
I believe the range on the shift is right around 3 to 6 feet.
Okay.
So, follow COVID rules, social distancing.
All right. Oh, that's interesting. Why was that so specific? Electromagnetic fields. Man, crazy.
Yeah.
And someone's asking, what is your opinion, Shawn, about earthing mats in the night to connect your body to Mother Earth and bring the volts of the body close to 0?
You would never want the voltage of your body to be 0. I mean, that's death. Some of this is really good marketing. I'm sorry.
That's so true. All the ads. Oh, boy.
I believe some people do speak out of turn and don't say what, they don't speak the facts. And some of the stuff I hear, I'm like, excuse me? You never want to be 0 volts.
Oh, wow. What is an average volt in the body?
I believe the human body runs between 12 and 24 volts, I believe. I would have to check that to be sure. Yeah, I mean, we are a battery. Interestingly enough, it takes 50 volts AC or DC to pierce the skin.
Wow.
Just a little fact.
Huh. Interesting.
Now the current in the human body is really not that high. Current and voltage are 2 totally different things, 2 totally different critters. I don't know what the actual current or the wattage of the human body is, but I guess you could do the math on that based upon caloric intake. That could tell you right there, because calories are energy, and that energy is measured in joules. So you could probably work it backwards and figure it out what the consumption of the energy of a body is in a day.
That makes sense. Calories are almost the same as a currency.
Yeah. Now, the grounding mats that people use and the grounding sheets and those types of things, I believe I told you in our messages back and forth that I had this conversation with Kate pre my exposure to what fixed me, the mushrooms, I probably would have looked like she had mushrooms growing out of her head. I do not discount anything at this point because of what I went through, and to testify to that, the doctors that I dealt with, it made me so angry because even the cardiologist I went to, I no longer see a cardiologist. My last appointment, the cardiologist, he said, everything looked great. What you're doing works, keep going. I said, did you know this could even work? He said, absolutely.
Oh my.
Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you tell me this was an option? Why did you want me on pills? Why did you want to do surgery? Now, mind you, my blood pressure was 170 over 135. My blood pressure now is 120 over 80.
Perfect.
And I take no pills.
Wow.
I'm 53 years old. My blood pressure is 120 over 80. I eat red meat, and the red meat I know comes from the farm behind my house. So it's grass-fed beef. You know, we have got to get back to just natural,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and get the processed stuff out of our system.
Mm.
You want to feel better? Do it.
Yeah. And for me, I was eating organic, natural, everything, thought I was going to live forever. Like I felt like Superwoman in 2024. I was doing a celery juice cleanse. And then 2025 hit, I'm in the hospital January 11th, turning blue. I can't pick up my arms.
Yeah.
And then a year of hell began. And that's when I
Mhm.
learned about nanobots and I learned about
Mhm.
COVID targeting your body because it's a weaponized pathogen they can turn on and off that creates a custom disease just for you. And like, I'm just like, what? So even
Mhm.
eating organic, we still need things like this to get rid
Oh
of the
yeah. Yeah,
nanobots.
absolutely.
Like, how do you know that that's like when you eat organic? And I've had Dr. Kate say, just shift the food or shift yourself. He's like, how do you know the food doesn't have nanotech, even if it's organic?
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't. You really, well, I guess I've got the closest thing because the farm is behind my house.
But then if there's
uh,
chemtrails, would that contain
well,
nanotech?
I mean, yeah, that's once again another rabbit hole. If you trust the government, I'm sorry. We can
Let's
talk
be
about
brother. They
many
don't.
known problems with the government and known instances of them manipulating and causing chaos and just not caring about well-being and wellness of anybody. You know, let's look at MK Ultra, let's look at LSD, let's look at on down the list of stuff.
Mm,
These are all things that the government did just because they felt like it, and they did it to soldiers and people because they signed themselves away to the government.
yeah. Horrible. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. So if you trust the government, then I guess turn us off now.
Oh, so for eating organic, even the food from the farm behind us, we still need to disable this nanotech thing
Yes.
and, just be on guard with that. And
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
if anyone else has questions, oh, there was one more. Does the shift ever need to be recharged or recalibrated? I mean, I recharge it. I recharge mine for the first time in a week, so it
Mhm.
can be recharged. But what would you
Yeah.
say to that?
I believe they may be referring to a different type of recharge. There's nothing in the system that needs to be charged as far as like if you had a charcoal filter or something that would need to be, recharged with a media, that type of thing.
Oh,
Now, I think that's the question they're asking. No, there's nothing in there like that. The shift is a coil. It's basically a Tesla coil with a high voltage, low current running through it. We're right around 50,000 volts going through the coil to
mm,
create the resonance with the frequency that we want, as well as the electromagnetic field. And the coil is it's a high density iron surrounded by copper.
mm. So it doesn't lose voltage. Yeah, because that was the question, not.
Uh, Lose voltage? No. I mean, we've had some issues with some components that need to be replaced on occasion, which we just ship it back to us and we replace that.
Yeah.
And that's the one component that we're really working on manufacturing here in the United States. But it's not an issue of the component has been depleted. It's just your manufacturing quality when everything's made in China is difficult.
Mm.
Um, and that's the biggest project, and we were kind of blasted by Kate coming on your podcast.
Yeah, I
We were kind
know.
of in the phase where we had really slowed down sales, and she wasn't doing any talks because we're developing our own power module to be produced right here in the United States.
What?
Which I'm very, oh yeah, it's the only way we can do it. We have to.
Wow.
We actually approached two different companies, and there was tens of $1,000s spent to get our own power module to do this with zero results. So, and that's when Kate and I made the decision, I will just do it here in the basement.
Yeah, I see
So,
why.
so I had to teach myself electronics to do this portion of it.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we've got a couple people that they just ordered it, can't wait to get it. Someone
Mhm.
said she lives in New Zealand and the shipping and exchange is huge.
Yeah.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah.
I will tell people who have ordered recently, I am behind because we were not expecting orders. So well, I'm not
Yeah.
Amazon, you know. I'm not Amazon. I don't have my own shipping trucks. I'm one person building all these by myself right now. Hopefully, I have all the orders out at the end of this week. Did I lose you? Hello, Julia. I think we lost Julia. I don't know if I'm here by myself or not. I'll give her a minute to come back on.
Okay, there we go.
All right, you're back.
Oh no. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. It froze and then everything was like, you're offline. And I'm like, what just happened? The chat kept rolling though. There were people talking to. I don't know if you saw.
I'm
we're freezing again.
not going to say this. I'm not going to say I'm shocked by the connection issues.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. It's not going that great. I agree.
Yeah, it's we've had funny issues like this before.
I believe it. Yeah, when I started talking about all of this, there were black like fighter jets that suddenly appeared over our home, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna say Psalm 91 a lot. So like strange things, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Weird times we live in. So we do have some questions. I'm going to see how many we can get through. So someone asked, what is the difference between the shift and terahertz or PEMF? That's a good one.
I cannot answer that one because I have not looked at that.
Okay. I have several PEMF. I could try to answer it. So we have like this $10,000 amp coil machine. It's this giant suitcase. It's a metal box in a suitcase. It's really crazy looking. And it's just this giant Tesla coil that's attached to the inside of that suitcase, which is like this giant charge box. And this guy invented it when he spent $500,000 on trying to heal himself from Lyme and was given a year to live. He had end-stage Lyme. And so what the amp coil is, and it was like the thing that finally it felt like something was working when I was going through like medicine, doctors, IVs, juice fasting. Nothing was touching what I was dealing with because it was frequency. And so when I used that amp coil, I was like, whoa, my heartbeat relaxed for the first time. So that's when I started looking into things. So for me, that was the beginning of the whole journey. But the shift is different because it raises your electromagnetic field instantly. And so the amp coil, which is PEMF, goes through a series of different codes that target like your heart, you can pick from 300 organs you want to target. So it seems to be a more specific way, but what I like about the shift is like it's that instantaneous cellular resonance and your field is raised. And maybe you could speak to the health benefits of that just a little bit. How did that play into your journey with the mushrooms?
By the time I had met Kate, I mean, I don't want to say healed. My body was much better.
Wow.
So the shift never really came much into, I guess, my healing process. Now, do I benefit from the shift? I would have to say yes every day, because once again, I build and test them all day long. That's what I do. But as far as the frequency and how the frequency affects us, I think I spoke to that a little bit earlier. If your cell is resonating at a healthy frequency,
Yeah.
then your body is in a better state to heal itself.
Mm.
You have to give your body the things it needs to heal itself and to do better, which is where the mushrooms really really helped me and helped many other people, because the mushrooms regulate your immune system. That's the
Wow.
biggest thing they do. It's crazy. My wife and I both, I mean, we both take it every day. And as far as sickness goes, previous to, I'd say 5 years ago, and previous to that, I would be in the doctor's office for antibiotics 3-4 times a year. I'd have a Z-Pack, because my health was so poor. I mean, that I'd had asthma my whole life as a child and everything going along. So I would be that sick. Last week was the worst sickness we've had probably in 3 years. And it was a irritating cough and some sniffles. We just don't get sick anymore.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
incredible.
I mean, we really, truly, I cannot say this enough. We do not get sick anymore.
That's amazing. So when
I
you give
mean,
your body what it needs, especially
yes,
that cellular resonance.
yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
We have a question. This one might be a little tricky. We'll just call it C. We won't say the word.
Yeah.
Would it help? Something like stage 4C.
Man, these are the questions that I hate to answer. That's more of a Dr. Kate question or Dr. Monzo question. I mean, I can tell you how the stuff operates, and I can tell you how cancer works. I mean, we know how it works. It's not difficult. Cancer is simply a mutation of the cells, which I come back to. If you give your body what it needs to heal, your body can heal itself. Even immunotherapy with cancer nowadays, you have immunotherapy 2 different ways. You have immunotherapy for autoimmune conditions and immunotherapy for cancer, and they work on totally opposite ends of the spectrum. With cancer immunotherapy, what they're trying to do is boost your immune system to the point where your immune system becomes almost in an autoimmune condition. And with autoimmune, they're trying to take it the opposite way, which is why you develop cancer, if that makes any sense at all.
Wow.
So once again, we want to get our body to a state where it can heal itself. It can do it. We are not designed to live miserable our whole lives.
Yes.
That is the one fact that I found out. So many doctors looked at me and said, "Why did you not come to us sooner?" Because I've been told my whole life, as you get older, you're going to feel worse. And I thought that was part of it. I had nothing to compare it to. I don't know how Julia feels or the person next to me feels. So my comparison was only myself. And I was getting worse as time went on, which is what I was told would happen. And I found out, no, that doesn't have to happen.
Wow.
And the eye-opening thing for me was a neuropsychologist I went to go see. And when I say neurological issues, I had some serious neurological issues. I mean, even with cognitive ability declining, it was that bad, which is where the neuropsychologist comes in. And the neuropsychologist was 80 years old. And when he asked me the same question, why didn't you come sooner? I told him, I always thought you got worse as you got older. He said, I'm 80 and I don't feel like you. And to me, that was the eye-opening thing.
Wow.
There's got to be a better way.
Yeah.
And that started me down that path of, well, also just like I told you, just praying every morning, I'm done, take it or take me. And I truly believe in divine intervention, and that I was led and compelled to go down that path. And had I not been led to go down that path, I would have never proceeded forward with Dr. Kate. I can tell you that right now, because I was sold on mainstream medicine. The doctors know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that was me.
Until I went through my struggle, and then I found out, no, they really don't know what they're talking about. And I can relate that and compare that to industrial maintenance and troubleshooting. It was one of the most difficult skills to teach to maintenance technicians, which I dealt a lot with, how to troubleshoot a machine and diagnose and figure out what's going on. And I found out doctors are just as bad. Wow. Troubleshooting is not a skill that can be taught. It's a way of thinking. Yeah. And you have to have that way of thinking, and most doctors don't.
Wow. Not to mention, you have a strict medical curriculum for 100 years. It doesn't even tell us that we are bioelectrical beings. Oh,
they are not allowed to tell us. Does not tell us. They are not allowed to tell us.
Exactly. It's against the law. It's to be an MD, you have to promote drugs and surgery, or you lose your license. That's in the AMA coding.
Exactly.
Whoa.
Yeah.
The corruption runs really deep.
I come back to my cardiologist. I asked the question, why didn't you tell me this was possible? Because he was of Indian descent, Middle Eastern Indian. And to him, what I was doing was kind of a natural way of taking care of myself, because in those cultures, that's where they would go first.
Yeah.
But being that he's a doctor in the United States, he has to follow the laws.
Wow. That's sickening. Oh,
it really is. To know, and that's the biggest thing I would love to do. I'd love to stand on top of a mountain and preach to everybody. Look, stop. You're going for these fabricated pills and these synthetic drugs, when what you probably need is just right at your back door.
Wow. That's so true. So true. And it's crazy, because if you think about that, like, we're in this, and I learned a lot of this last year, we're in this era where we've got dirty electricity from 5G hitting our body. And Dr. Kate painted a picture for me the other day, and I was like, whoa. She's like, the cells, our cellular resonance is just what you said, 10 to 30 kilohertz. You take the towers, that's 900,000, not kilohertz, gigahertz, that never turns off.
Yes. I'll go you one step further. You're living at a house that's wired with AC current that's operating at a frequency of 60 hertz. All around you, running through your wires.
Wow.
AC frequency is 60 hertz. It oscillates at a frequency, it oscillates 60 times per second. Now, if your cell is trying to operate in a frequency range of 15 kilohertz, and you're constantly surrounded by 60 hertz, what does that do to your body? Then you throw in the devices, the cell phones, the cell towers, the high tension power lines that would make a meter scream if you're within a mile of them. You can't even point a satellite dish in their direction, because it almost changes the gravity around there to warp the signal.
Wow.
So you have all that surrounding you. And here's what I like to really go back to. I'm not sure of your biblical background, but there is a one of the biblical rules in the Old Testament, the rule of linen and wool.
Yeah.
And this is very interesting.
Yes.
The rule is you should not wear clothing of mixed material.
Yes.
Now, if you go down that rabbit hole, and a lot of things biblical, there was actual real world reason behind it. There was a reason why pork was not kosher, because pork killed a lot of people. Now, this rule of linen and wool, if you check, or if you look into the frequency of linen and the frequency of wool, they are both 1,000 hertz. Sounds fine, right? But they are completely opposite. One's negative, one's positive.
Whoa.
If you mix the two, it cancels the frequency.
Wow.
So you want things that are going to empower your body.
Yeah.
And 6,000 years ago, it was known you do not mix linen and wool because this cancels out the frequency of the body, and the body does not operate at zero frequency. Zero frequency, once again, like 0 volts, is death.
I can't believe that's marketing tactic someone believed. And we're not poking fun of you, but don't believe that.
No, no. It's not making fun. I do believe there is a
Wow.
purpose behind those technologies.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
I really don't like when people misspeak and
Yeah.
speak without knowing what they're saying.
Yeah. That's so interesting. And then if you think about, not only are we crossing fabrics, but then you have polyester.
Yes.
I'm sure you can describe that better than me. What's going on there?
Uh, well, once again I don't know the exact ranges polyester the frequency it operates at, but polyester is crude oil as its basis. So let's start there.
Oh.
uh, Crude oil itself, which is really interesting, is not very harmful to the environment at all. Crude can be broken down and digested by many types of bacteria. Once you process this crude and you break it down into the specific elements, the nylon, the dicron, the gasoline, the ethylene, the diesel, that's when those products become difficult to deal with in the environment and for the human body.
Wow.
So even if you take the resonance of the nylon out of there, you have the issue with putting stuff on your body that is just harmful, period. Let's talk microplastics. Yeah.
Wow.
Or
That's in
PFAS, or,
everything. Like, how do you get away from this stuff? It's in our clothes, it's in our cups, it's in our, like, it's in almost everything. That's what
how do you
blows my
get away
mind.
from it? It's lifestyle change.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. So do you tear down your whole house because it's got AC?
No, what you do is you go out into the woods, get away from it.
Yeah, we were trying to move because we live in the middle of Scottsdale, and it is like, my health deteriorated when we moved out here. The 5G grids and the new grids coming up that are like fake trees, fake cactuses. We drove by one, it looked like it was a containment for a concentration camp. Like, no joke. It was this tall metal wiring that was fenced in with like all these boxes all over it. And there was a beautiful tree next to it, completely black. And I'm just like, wow, we got to get out of here. So we're going to move to Tennessee and have some woods.
Oh, I love Tennessee. Well, I guess what I was saying is just get out in the woods, you know, get out of your house, go outside, go to the woods, you know, get back to some nature. Once again, all things in moderation. And if you're living in this environment and you're breathing this environment, and this is the only thing you know and your body knows, you are not going to feel good.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, I was asking Dr. Kate because I love to be outside, but when the chemtrails are striping the sky, I never feel good. And she's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be outside between 11 and 4. You know, try to get like early morning sunlight and then like twilight, and don't be out in the middle of the day. It's just crazy, like all these new things we have to think of because, you know, aluminum dropping out of the sky, tiny supercomputers in food. What kind of era are we in? This is insane.
Right. Yeah. Once again, I say, if you trust your government, sorry.
I think everyone here does not. Thank God.
Yeah.
Someone asked me, Julia, how do you feel after using the shift? Yeah, I brought that up earlier. Maybe you weren't here, Vicki. There was a huge change. And it's funny because my friend came over that I met through church, like by accident. And she turns out like to be this quantum super connector that I needed. Told me about Dr. Monso, told me about the shift. So she brought it over on Sunday. This is like this was maybe 5 weeks ago. And I'd been struggling. And most of you know about this remedy. So this was what God used to completely pull me out of the pit. And it is quantum. Inside of here is quantum, well, it's almost out. Quantum frequency molecules from 44 plants. And it was a 50-year study. So that thing got me out of like sepsis. It was insane. So I've been on it for 5 months. I'm still struggling in January. I'm like, I'm better. I'm doing better. I'm like doing things like driving again, taking my kids places. But still not like something's wrong, still having that feeling. So my friend brings over the shift, this new friend I met that's like a doctor of ministry and knows all these things about quantum healing. And she's like, yeah, here, this is how you use it. You got to walk away from all your devices. So we go outside, use it. And it was like immediately after I felt really heavy. Like I just had to sit down and I could not get to bed fast enough that night. And then I slept 12 hours. And the next day I was like I was out of it. And I had like this 24-hour, it felt like some kind of detox reaction. And then after that, like I felt better and now I use it. I don't have that heavy reaction that I had at the beginning, which made me think there was a lot of nanotech involved in what happened to me. So that was my experience with it. And then Dr. Monzo's partner, Kim, who I see here in Phoenix, she put me on a ton of charcoal. So at one point, I think I was taking 10 a day, which is crazy, 10 or 12 a day after doing the shift. So there's just a lot of detox that's, I think, still happening. But that plant spray, you guys here watching, you already know about that. I know Timothy used it too. And it actually healed his neuropathy. He had similar, what was going on with you, Shawn, with like total neuropathy. His doctors told him he would lose his feet.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, they shoved antidepressants down my throat for the neuropathy. And honestly, that was probably the worst thing in my life I've ever had to quit.
Wow.
Yeah. I was on antidepressants for neuropathy for 4 years.
That's a long time. But you're not on anything. You're like completely healed from all that. That's amazing.
I do not take medication. Very rarely, some Tums for heartburn, but I've basically gotten that under control just by changing habits.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Timothy, yep, I know you use that. He's on the plant spray. It's his 5th month. It's crazy, like, eating clean, organic, going outside. I was bike riding. I still got taken down to such an extent that it was like I was dying at 33. And I can only attribute that because of how toxic our environment is. Like, there's no way a normal person in the sunshine, living and working and eating organic, would ever get that sick unless our environment was like purposefully really toxic and full of aluminum, which I had high aluminum in my hair. We did a mineral test. So it was all there. Like, this stuff is real. And I don't need to tell our audience that. They know. They're aware.
Consumer goods are full of toxic products. And they're that way because of really good lobbying is what's happened.
Wow.
Allow us to kill people, a certain amount of people, and everything will be fine.
Yeah. What's clear?
Our products are mostly safe. Just remember, every class action lawsuit against a drug was at one time an FDA approved drug.
Wow.
That right there should tell you everything.
Yes. What shocked me is the amount of time that, COVID was not just a psyop that suddenly happened in 2020. I read Brian Ardis's book, I've read The Resonance Effect, which talks about cellular healing. And I'm like, wait a minute, this goes back 100 years to 1910. Like, the FDA was researching spike protein, aka snake venom, in the 40s and giving out the Peace Prize for discovering that turbo cancer comes from snakes. Why the heck would the American Cancer Society fund a prize for accelerating cancer? And that's when you like, oh man, it's really this corrupt. That's when the light bulb.
Trust the science.
Ooh.
First, follow the money that pays the science.
Oh, the worst phrase in history.
Yes. Trust the science is the most anti-science phrase there is available.
That's true.
Science is skepticism.
Yes. Correct. Crazy. Well, Timothy said he lives in the woods. So far in the woods, daylight comes in around noon.
Sounds like my kind of place.
That's where we all need to move. Oh my goodness. No joke though. Well, thank you so much, Shawn. I know we were over an hour. This is so good. It's great to talk to not just doctors like Dr. Kate and Monzo who are very hard to find, very
Mhm.
hard to find doctors that are that truthful, but
Oh yeah.
also people that are inventing and creating products like you. You know, it's amazing that you're doing that, that you did that. And we didn't even really talk about the story of how you invented the shift. Oh, there goes my camera, but I'm still here.
Yeah.
So maybe we can have you back talking about my red light's
Well,
probably going. Maybe we
the-
can have you back talking about how you invented the shift, because we didn't
okay.
even really get to that.
Right. Well, we really didn't touch on the topic of mold, which you wanted to discuss originally
Oh,
anyway.
that's true.
Because
Mold was supposed to
I did invent or develop the automated disinfection system that's uh, 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 excellent at eradicating mold, mildew, and all viruses and bacteria.
That's
You
incredible, but that's not
using
for
an
sale yet.
all using an all natural disinfectant.
Wow. But that
The
system's not for sale, correct?
once again, that business is what I'm trying to decide what to do with. I would love to start selling franchises for disinfection. Is what I would really like to do with that business. Um, there's a long story behind that business and why it happened with it, and it was there was 5 partners involved in the beginning, and we had to get that down to 2 before we could really do anything and move forward.
Um,
But it's a very effective system. Actually, my partner and myself, we bought out the other 3 partners, and during Hurricane Helene, we donated 2 machines and enough disinfectant product to disinfect 2,000 homes after they were cleaned out and to disinfect against the mold and the mildew.
wow. That's
And
amazing.
Dr. Kate will speak to that one over and over again. Stories of, they came in and said, this place is unlivable with all the mold spores that are in it. And it went from that to its undetectable levels after using the disinfection machine.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Amazing. So yeah, we need to talk more about that. I mean, what would you tell people if they were like, well, if I can't buy a device from you, another device, what would I do? And I know like thyme oil, did that play a part?
Thyme oil is the active ingredient in the disinfectant.
Wow. Okay.
The disinfectant that I use in the system is commercially available. You can buy it anywhere, and I'll tell everybody if you need disinfectant, buy it. It's Decon 30, Benefect Decon 30. And when I developed a system to do the automated disinfection, and the system is, like I said, more commercial is what we have right now. There's one system that does 1,000 square feet in 30 minutes, and another system does 10,000 square feet in an hour.
Wow.
And that's total disinfection. And when I developed this system, we took it for testing at Battelle Labs here in Ohio, a third-party laboratory, to prove efficacy. Because at the time, the EPA and the CDC was issuing cease and desist letters to several companies because, no, you can't prove what you're saying works. Well, we actually spent the money and we proved what we said it did.
Wow.
And Battelle did that. And Battelle actually wrote a white paper document on the system. And that's when the State House of Ohio found us and said, look, we've been trying to find something to do the State House that will not destroy and damage the historical documents, the paintings, the architecture, everything in here, and something that's actually effective and works. And we found your system and we need it. Yeah. So, I mean, during COVID, obviously we sold really well. But the thing is, that really aggravated me was after COVID, nobody cared about disinfection.
Wow.
When
Yeah.
it realistically, it's one of the key things we probably need to do, especially in homes that are almost hermetically sealed against anything. And once you lock the contagions in, you're done.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. Wow.
So maybe another time on that one.
Yes, definitely. Well, if you're watching the replay or you're catching the end of this, let us know in the comments. I'll have Shawn back and we can, definitely people want to hear more about mold remediation. And somebody asked, snakes create turbo cancer. Is that what SV40 is? So the snake stuff, I've learned so much to learn. This is a really good book. If you guys haven't read it, Brian Artis's book on COVID-19 called The COVID-19 Lies. And there's a paper in here. I've actually done a video. Yes, this is it. Page 97, where he shows the DNA evidence. I don't know if you can actually see that, that COVID identically matched snake venom, SARS-CoV, and then snake venom. Cobra toxin, SARS-CoV-2 had the exact same DNA imprint as snake venom. But I'll take you one step further, because God led me on this whole path of discovery. So I read that, I was like, whoa, COVID is snake venom. And then everything made sense, because what happened to me was part of, like, I had brainstem issues, I had vagus nerve shutdown, like CNS issues. That's all a common reaction from snake venom poisoning, not a virus. And so I was like, whoa. But then that led me to more in the quantum realm, kept learning, kept researching. And then Dr. Monzo's like, it's actually not snake venom. It's a replication that's been genetically modified, what he calls a weaponized pathogen, recreation of something that has the same DNA imprint as snake venom, but it's not actually snake venom. It's a weaponized pathogen. And that's why even more made sense when he said that, because why would everyone have so different symptoms? Like, I had a friend who her uterus was removed and everything in that area got targeted when she had long COVID. Like, she was suddenly lactating at 45. That is not the same symptom I had.
Wow.
Like, totally different symptoms from people to people. And I was like, this is really crazy. So that's when the weaponized pathogen creating a custom disease for your body made so much sense, even more sense than the snake venom, which also made sense because of the central nervous system issues. But I was like, whoa. So that's the story about snakes. And then as far as turbo cancer, what I know about that is, and again, read that book by Brian Artis, it's really good, is they've been experimenting with snake venom, cone snail venom, deep sea creature venom, like over 35 different venoms were found in the gut of someone with long COVID, 35 different venoms. And what they found when they were testing and playing with all of these venoms, there's papers out, by the way, on all of this. And Dr. Brian Artis shows all these papers. They've been documented. They documented at some university that, oh, cone snail venom really supercharges cancer. And it was like celebrated. It was like the paper made it sound like they discovered something amazing. And I'm like, you discovered how to turbocharge cancer. Why is that a good thing? So anyway, that was published by some college here in America, and it's been a known fact. And then cone snail played into COVID, which is why, like all the vaccines, we won't go too far there, but people with that in their bloodstream suddenly had the turbo thing happening. Well, there's a direct correlation. The vaccine is known to have high amounts of that stuff in it. And Dr. Mazza talks a lot about that. He had a Rumble video I watched where he showed over 55 ingredients in a single Pfizer vaccine that included gene editing. The CRISPR technology was in that vaccine. I mean, we know this. There's patents out by these companies, right, that are patenting. They're basically protecting the humans, and the ownership of those humans now belong to the vaccine companies. So then you got to ask, well, why the heck would a company want to own a human? Which then leads you to the Matrix story and the fact that we are batteries, and how, could the next internet run on something other than towers? So there's a lot more to talk about there. I'm sure you'd have thoughts on all of that, Shawn.
Yeah, there's a lot of rabbit holes.
You're just like silently nodding. There's more. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
There's so much here, so much to uncover. And I think it's really important we talk about this. Like, that's one thing I learned, like, just the amount of not just misinformation, but like you said, Shawn, purposeful lack of natural healing, because it's the law that you can't do that in America. And also, like, we're not even aware of what we're up against. And so when I learned all these things, I'm like, we've got to tell the American people.
Absolutely. Like I said, I would like to scream it at the top of my lungs. It's
yes.
And it all comes down to profit.
Yes, it does.
Profit and control.
It's crazy because even the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil.
Absolutely. Just had that topic of conversation yesterday.
Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy.
Evil is chaos.
Yeah. Someone said hijacked for quantum computation. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that's another topic. Come back and subscribe, because you said, Shawn, you'd like to shout this from the rooftops. That's what our goal is on this channel. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for telling your friends. Like, you know, if the least you do is spread awareness in your circle of influence, and you tell people, hey, what we're up against isn't natural. If you're being told by a doctor, it's all in your head, just take another pill. Maybe that doctor's wrong.
Exactly.
Maybe there's something more, like chemicals being sprayed on us, or nanotechnology in our food. And you know, if a magnet sticks to your body, that's not natural.
No.
So many things here. Yeah. So thanks for watching, and thank you for being here, Shawn, and being an open book on a lot of this. It's weird because, you know, we can't, like you said, we can't really prove it, but we got to talk about it. So we got to find some weird middle ground here. So thanks for doing that.
Thanks for the invite, Julia.
Yes, this was great. And thank you all for being here with us. So subscribe, and we'll definitely have Shawn back on to talk about all the other things we didn't talk about, which are so many. We'll see you guys next time.